Good evening. Good evening, friends. I'm saying good evening because I know that today's session is more focused on our friends from Asia. We will, of course, have friends from Europe joining in. So I must also say a good morning to everyone. Today's session is, of course, very unique. But before we start the session, just wanted to quickly introduce once again, especially to our friends who are joining us probably for the first time, not only here on Zoom, but also on our YouTube live, which is being streamed right now. A little introduction about Vishwamanthan. Vishwamanthan is a wonderful platform that has been created by friends and for friends. This is a platform where we intend to share, we intend to learn, and we intend to grow. And we have grown. Over the last 2 years, you will see a wonderful plethora of events. Our vision statement very clearly explains why we are doing what we are doing. We are a platform that connects and brings together professionals from all around the world with core values of friendship, candor, and inclusiveness. And look at this wonderful people, the plethora of amazing personalities who have graced this, this August gathering. We've had seasoned actors like Sachin Pirgaonkar. We have had diplomats like Sri Bambawale. We've had politicians who have really made a difference, like Suresh Prabhu. We had not one, but three Padma Vibhushans, Dr. Mashelkar, and many such wonderful personalities who have joined us. We have also focused on some very interesting social projects with our dear friend Yajurvendra Mahajan. We've also talked about health and wellness. So as you can see, it's an all-encompassing platform. We have not restricted our subjects to only one particular sphere, but tried to incorporate as much as learning as we can for us and also for our audiences. We are a platform which is not only constricted to one particular region, but growing. My request, therefore, to all of our friends who are joining in is to share more information about Vishwamanthan. Vishwamanthan's email address is vishwamanthan2020@gmail.com. You can also kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel to be a part of Vishwamanthan. With that little introduction about Vishwamanthan, let me hand it over to my dear friend Pradyumna Ingle, who's going to introduce to us our esteemed guest. And what a wonderful person this is, isn't it, Pradyumna? Over to you.
Absolutely, Amit. Thank you so much. I get an echo. Hopefully, maybe it was me, and it's no longer there. So, Amit, very well said, and we are fortunate to have some wonderful guests on our Vishwamanthan platform over a number of years. And we have another amazing number of months, and we have another amazing guest today. They say that Sarvatra Pujyate Raja Vidwan. Let me correct it again. They say that Deshe Pujyate Raja Vidwan Sarvatra Pujyate. तो इसका मतलब है कि राजा की पूजा अपने देश में होती है, विद्वान की पूजा जो है हर जगह होती है. और ऐसे एक विद्वान, एक प्रतिभावान व्यक्ति आज हमारे साथ में है, योगेंद्र पुराणिक. वेलकम योगेंद्र.
नमस्कार.
He is an amazing talent, as we will hear his fantastic journey to the land of rising sun in next hour or so. As always with Vishwamanthan, we try and capture his journey, the learnings of our guest in 1 hour. So during the session, we'll try and understand the values, the key takeaways, and we'll try and get inspired through Yogendra's journey. Yogendra is an amazing person. His humility, his simplicity defies the achievements that he has had over a number of years. He was in April 2019 elected to the Tokyo Edogawa city as the councillor. And he is the first person of Asian non-Japanese origin to be elected in Japan for any constitutional role which he has done. He has a master's degree in international economics. He has been granted twice government scholarship to study in Japan, and he has also studied at IIM Calcutta. Over the last 25 years, he has worked with Japanese banks, global IT companies, as well as automotive industry. He is a very well-known guest lecturer in ministries, universities, local government, corporates and offices in Japan. And he is also has that entrepreneurial streak. He owns one of the most popular restaurants, Indian restaurants in Japan, and also runs a culture center over there. Uh, but this is only a part of what he does. He is also the chairman of All Japan Associations of Indians, Ajay. He's an advisor to the Japan Foreign Human Resources Association, or JFHRA, and he is for very long time associated with the local Japanese Indian associations, as well as the associations of persons of foreign origins over there. So without further ado, I must welcome Yogendra to our session today. And it's a very apt timing because we know that the world's largest sports festival is going on with Olympics in Tokyo right now. In fact, as we speak, PV Sindhu is playing against Tai Tzu Ying of China in the semifinals for badminton, and I'm very confident that she will move to the next round and to the finals very soon. So you're going to warm welcome. You have had an amazing journey, and we are all very curious to know how this journey started, especially in your early years. What inspired you? What motivated you to become what you have achieved today and achieve what this wonderful accomplishments of yours?
Thank you so much, Amit ji, and thank you so much, Pradyumna ji. I hope I'm audible. First of all, actually, thank you so much for inviting me to this platform. And just as Amit ji was talking about the whole list of guests, I think I'm really maybe a small ant-like uh, personality as compared to all those people still young and still starting up here. In fact, I must thank all of you for inviting me here. Although I have just started my political journey, but through this, I know that people love politicians. They just don't hate politicians. Well, uh, coming to your question, I think we will have to build up the story over a few next questions as well, because it will be very difficult for me to answer to come to the to what you can say to the gist why I became a politician in Japan. So uh, as maybe you guys would have seen, I was born in Ambernath near Mumbai, which is around 50-60 kilometers from Mumbai. It's a very small town, and uh, it's famous for a Shiva temple and a festival of that temple. My father was used to work for an ordnance company, and my mom actually she was a tailor. And my dad was very extrovert, and he was a person who like he can make anybody his friend. And on the other hand, my mom was very practical person. However, she was the one actually who probably is also one of uh, the basic frames behind my thought process or success, because in she used to run a stitching school, and in her school she actually helped hundreds of students who were school dropouts to make their lives by teaching them stitching. So I completed my middle school education in Ambernath. I was fairly good in mathematics and science, and hopefully was heading towards my education in science subjects or engineering. But in my 11th standard, my father was transferred to Pune, and I had to move to Pune. I hope people who are here, they understand a bit of geography of India, all of you. So Pune and Mumbai are cities in the western part of India, around 150, 160 kilometers separated. Uh, so from Mumbai, from Ambernath, we moved to Pune, and from there I finished my high school. So it happened so like when I started with my high school, I was thinking like I was quite good in mathematics and science, and in my first quarterly exam in my 11th grade, I could score only 1.5 marks out of 35. And here was my physics teacher. He came in the class and he banged my face in front of all of the students, and that was actually so humiliating for me. uh, uh, and somehow that resulted in me picking up studying bachelor of science in physics and mathematics, and that's how my journey started. So uh, while doing that, my father actually, he said that he realized that actually I was doing quite well with languages, and then he suggested me to study German in my high school. So I started with German language. But as I progressed to the university, he again came up with a different idea, saying that why don't you try something different. And then in Pune, fortunately, we had this German language department. We just fortunately bumped in there, and then we said okay. I started learning Japanese language. From there, actually, I really picked up Japanese language very well. And in the next 2 years, while I was doing my first year and second year of the Bachelor of Science, the undergrad program in Pune, I was winning national competitions in Japanese speech contest, also quiz contests, and I was topping. I topped at the university, and parallelly, what I was doing is I was also doing a diploma in IT from Datamatics Corporation. That time, actually, we had these programs from Datamatics Corporation were very popular. So my schedule in the daytime used to be like morning I would leave home from 5:30. From 6:30 to 9 o'clock, I'll spend my time in the experiments lab. 9 to 1 p.m. I would be taking lectures. 2 to 5:30 p.m. my diploma in IT. Then evening 6:30 to 8:30 my language courses, and then back home 10:30. Again get up next morning 4:30 and 5:30 start again. So 2 years were just like that. Life was just like that, but I was enjoying all of it. I was enjoying my science classes. I was enjoying my diploma in IT. I was enjoying my languages. And not just stopping over there, my Saturdays and Sundays I would spend in my NCC air wing. So from morning 6 o'clock, we would start marching until 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And then in the afternoon, we would have the lectures on aviation science. So Saturdays and Sundays would go like that. So these 2 years were really actually rigorous for me, but at the same time very happy for me. And in the second year of my BSc, I finished my diploma in IT. I had quite good knowledge about Japanese, and one software company in Pune at my age of 19, they offered me a job in their company. So I became an employee of an IT company. And soon after that, actually, I got, as Pradyumna said, I got scholarship to Japan. I got two scholarships, first in 1997 and then second in 1999. And that is how my relationship with Japan started. So I hope I'm not going into too many details, but this is where my real relationship with Japan started. Uh, in fact, I had no dream of coming to Japan. For to be honest, uh, we never even thought of going to overseas. But I think probably it was a part of destiny. Plus, now actually my friends tell me, Yogi, it's not just about destiny, but the way actually you were enjoying your studies, or the way you were loving doing things. I think you were the guy who was supposed to get those scholarships and come to Japan. So it's not just about destiny, but also the hard work you were doing that time. Honestly, I was just enjoying that time with nothing else in my mind. So with that, actually, I did my finished my scholarships, and then in I went back to India in 2000, mid of 2000, later half of 2000. And because of some personal relationships, actually, I didn't go back to my IT company, but I joined a Japanese ancillary company of Honda, as the special assistant to the managing director over there. And he was a Japanese person. And I started working with him. And before that, of course, I worked in IT company for 3.5 years in India. And IT companies, we talk about project management and we talk about processes. So I was actually getting acquainted with all those. But when I worked with this Japanese person, he actually completely changed my perspective about the way of looking at processes. Or he said, Yogi, our mind is very funny. In fact, it is very intelligent or clever. Your mind will tell you, actually give you all gloomy great pictures that you can actually do this, you can get this done. However, he said, never trust it. Whatever comes to your mind, put it on a paper, be it a process or be it some product, try to put it on paper, try to create that image on the paper. And that is how you practically gave me the idea of paper model technique that we usually use in product in process development in IT. And that was actually one of the very eye opening thing for me. And even when after that I came into IT, actually that has been always my building block. What he said to me, the time I worked with him, was an eye opening. The way a Japanese person works and the way rest of the world works probably is totally different. That is what actually he told me. So that is how I came to there. Then in 2000 from 2001 I came to Japan as a professional. I started working in IT company, worked in IT company for 9 years, and then I joined a Japanese bank as the vice president for what you can say process automation and process building up. My work was to change the way the Japanese bank works, and from there I climbed up. I made good success on my professional side of work. Have While doing that, there were things happening on my personal side, and from those personal side, I was actually getting a lot to learn. Pradyumna, shall I go on from here? Then I go into how I finally went into politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely. And
sure.
that will be a great
Sure,
segue to the next part of the discussion.
sure. So in 2001, I came to Japan, and I again destiny. I remet one of my Chinese classmates from my 1999 scholarship to Japan, and so I came to Japan in February 2001. I bumped into her in March 2001, and soon after that, in August 2001, we got married. So my I got married to a Chinese, and soon after that, in 2002, our son was born. And but when my son was born, my wife actually, she was bit she had some medical issues, and she decided to go back to China. So from then, actually, I decided to take care of my son, and then me and my son, I took care of my son. And of course my mom and my family actually helped me intermittently. They were the big pillars. But one important thing, actually, I would like to leave this point with you guys. Many of you would be actually to be fathers. uh, what fortunately happened is, before my son was born in India, I took an infant Siddha program from SSY. It is a 100-hour program. That time it was a 100-hour program. I somehow, somebody introduced it to me, and I took that program, and that program actually gave me a full breadth and depth of how a good child rearing could be done. And I actually tried all those things on my son, and trust me, my son is 19 years today, and I take pride in saying that I have never made my son cry, even despite taking care of him as a single father. So rearing a kid is a technique, and India has that technique, traditional things. So while we are going to talk on too many different topics today, I would like to leave this real important point, that we need to actually understand the right techniques to bring up the right next generation. Very beautiful things actually they made me to learn. Amazing gyan that I got from them. So my child rearing started from 2002, and I was in the IT company. So like, whenever our projects change, we have to keep moving on. Normally our projects are 6 months, 1 year. So I was like an immigrant community in Japan, again immigrant of immigrant kind of. I'm moving from city to city, because since I was a single father, what I took care is that I always lived near my office, within 10 minutes walk from my office. So as soon as I leave my office, I reach home, I can spend more time with my kid. But in 2005, then slowly, as I became a bit more senior, I got manager role in the office. Then my office was actually stabilized. I was in the same premises. So then this was the time in 2005. I moved to a town where we had actually more Indians living there, around hundreds of Indians. And that was the time I realized that there are actually too many issues between the Japanese and Indian community. because the Indians were not following some basic day-to-day life aspects of life, like segregating of garbage or living peacefully. We guys are our kids are running all the time here and there. Even in the house, our kids are running. But in Japanese, actually, the architecture of the house itself is different. The voice actually traverses up and down, not a sturdy concrete architectures like in India we have, but Japan is very different. Most of the times wooden architecture. So people, when I started thinking about these issues and talking to people why it happens, I realized two things. People don't understand the etiquette of Japan because nobody was educating them, and people did not understand the other physical aspects of Japan, like the building architecture, or how to use the parks and so on. So from there, I started the no, not even from there. So I started actually realizing all these aspects. But one day, actually, I saw one very, not really funny thing, but a serious thing, that a few old people, they were into the garbage collecting room of my big society. My society had around 1,500 families altogether, out of which around 250 were Indian families. So one day I saw that some Japanese old men around 70, 75, 80 years of age, they were actually opening all the garbage bags in the garbage collecting room. So we have garbage collecting rooms where we throw the garbage. From there, the garbage collecting vans, they collect all the garbage and they take it to the factories. So I was seeing that, I saw that these old people, old men, they were actually opening the garbage bags and they were resegregating the garbage from that. And I went to them and I asked them, what are you doing? And they told me, actually the foreigners living in our society, they don't put the plastic and the paper and the bottles and the cans differently. So when it goes to the garbage, that recycling factories, then there is the problem occurs in the factories. The factory stops, the machine stops, and then it creates a problem. So we have to help the factories by segregating the garbage, resegregating the garbage. So I said, why are you doing? So they said, this is public service. I said, are you paid for that? They said, no, this is just public service, social service. I felt the biggest shame of my life that time, that we people, we are not trying to understand the norms of life. We are just living the life the way we want, and somebody else is actually trying to put it all right together. So that was real shame for me and a real lesson for me. And from that time, I decided that I need to actually percolate. I need to send across the knowledge that I gather in this society to all the people around me. And that time, then we had Yahoo groups very popular. We had Yahoo Messenger very popular that time. Facebook was probably not born, just getting birth that time. So on our groups, I started proactively writing to people that, these are the things and this is how we have to follow. Otherwise, somebody else is actually cleaning our dust. We should not be doing that. And in our communities, I started going to the communities where Indians lived in flocks. I started actually giving lectures on how we need to live differently. And in 2006, again, fortunately, the people in the Japanese societies, we have local societies formed. We call them as chokai. So normally the executive committees of these societies are made up of Japanese people. So the Japanese people saw that actually I'm sincerely working on social things, and they actually said, Mr. Yogi, would you like to be an executive officer in the society? So in the town society. So I said, if I can do something, I would agree to it. They said, yes, we want you to actually work as our representative. Then they made me the executive officer. So in the Tokyo, such kind of resident societies, I was actually I was probably the first non-Japanese executive officer in such a society. So the starting was from there. And then what I realized, that in day to day, the societies were getting so many complaints from the residents, from the Japanese, saying that, oh, my neighbor Indian is so loud all the time. They are standing in the veranda and they're talking loudly on the phone, even in the night. So, the way Japanese people live, they normally sleep early and they get up early. They are early sleepers and early they get up early. And our Indian cycle is reverse. We actually start watching TV programs and we start talking to our parents after we come back from the office, standing in the veranda and talking loud, because the telephone signal also works better in the veranda. So I won't actually complain the guys completely. So then I started, I saw that there are so many people actually bringing in complaints and there was nobody to actually solve. So then I used to tackle all these complaints one on one with the Japanese person. I would go to the foreigner, not just Indians. I would ask them what exactly it is. Can we change the things? And so then I actually like people started realizing, yes, we need a change. But at the same time, what I did is I also spoke to the Japanese people, the counterparty, our hosts, that that they also need to be actually communicative. They just cannot put up claims or they cannot be just angry. But whenever they see that somebody is not following the rule, they need to understand that people are not following the rule because they like not following the rules. But in 99.99% of cases, people are not following the rules because they don't know the rules. So you have to be the teacher for them. Now, see, saying it was easy, but those who have come to Japan, who have lived in Japan, they understand that language barrier in Japan is very high. So the first problem was the language barrier for the Japanese to communicate with the foreigners. So we had to overcome it. So ultimately, the direct communication between the Japanese and the foreigners wouldn't work. So ultimately, we continued with the community lessons. So now this was actually picking up well, and we were seeing a lot big change in the town, and this news was spreading. And by 2007, 2008, I was getting picked up by the media, by many newspapers, by the national television channels, on the work I was doing. Many documentaries were done even that time, and slowly this actually started getting over all over Japan. People started knowing about my work, and people started to come asking about how to actually go about this change. And while this all looked going fine, there suddenly happened this great the great Eastern Japan earthquake in 2011. All of you would remember the big news. It was a huge earthquake with around 9 Richter scale. It was a huge one, and it was just not an earthquake, but it was followed up with the explosion in the nuclear reactor. And when this new explosion happened, what happened is the Japanese government and the administration, they suddenly actually stopped giving out the information, because it was a national disaster. And now the news actually started flowing in, not within Japan, but the news started coming from overseas. The overseas media, they started shouting that Japan nuclear has exploded and the radiation is all over Japan, and people in Japan are going to be affected by cancer and so on, and the drinking water is now no more healthy. And so much of news coming from overseas, and our parents shouting from India, come back, come back, come back. Fortunately, my parents didn't do that. So first thing what we did is actually, I and one of my friend in the community, we started a call center at our home using our mobile phones. And for first few nights, we attended hundreds of calls, from mothers crying, husbands worried for their family. Most of the families who were having actually small kids, they were so much worried whether my kid will be able to live his whole life or not. We said, just keep calm, just keep calm. See, it's not actually happening so much as the media is shouting. The reactor is hundreds of kilometers away from here. The radiation is not coming to Tokyo so much, at least. The Indian population was not in that part, not so much in that part of the where the radiation was happening. In fact, that part, not even foreigner population is there in much quantity. So we started sending out this signal that we need to actually keep our calm. At the same time, we had to educate people that not to go to the stores and buy too much of stuff, worrying that they won't be able to buy the necessary stuff. They won't be able to buy the necessary stuff after a couple of days. So we actually started all that social awareness in the society, and honestly speaking, that was working. But unfortunately, around 40% of Indians left Japan in a few weeks after that. And unfortunately, many Indians, professionals, they left for India without giving proper notice to their companies or proper information to their companies. And that was a very big setback. So when I when we started actually looking back into this event, we realized that all this happened in the lack of information. We didn't have a communication network wherein we could actually communicate to our community. Forget about all over Japan, but we could not even communicate within Tokyo. And that's why from within Tokyo also, we 40% of Indians left Japan. So whatever work we were doing successfully in the last previous years, it all went into drain. And after the earthquake, after a year or so, when again Indians and more foreigners started coming into Japan, honestly, it was a restart, reinventing the wheel. Because again, the new people coming in without understanding the etiquette of Japan, without understanding the manners in Japan, and again, the same problems. So by this time, what was happening is in Japan, we were having multiple communities in Japan representing India. So normally, as you know, that you go to any country in the world, Indians basically they will have the community state-wise. So there will be community by for Marathis, there will be community for Tamilians, there will be community for Kannadigas, there will be community for Biharis, and normally these communities are working within themselves. They are working well, but usually focusing on those one or two odd festivals that they would do every year. But these communities were not so much into the welfare of the community in an organized manner, at least I can say. So the idea came to my mind. Honestly, I will what you say, uh, uh, what you say, I will beat my own drums. That this idea came to me that actually we need to bring all these communities together, and we have to form a larger community, which through which we can actually create a community network and a knowledge base through which actually we can connect to at least all the Indians across Japan. And that is where we started actually negotiations. But honestly, it won't go so easy, because actually so many people will have so many thoughts. So we started in 2011, we started actually discussing about it. Finally in 2017, we were able to set up an association organization called as All Japan Association of Indians, which in short form we call as Ajay, AJAI. And we said that we won't do any festivals. Our whole and sole focus will be the welfare of the community. First thing first is creating a knowledge base, is creating a website where people can visit anytime and they can have a knowledge base on all various aspects of life in Japan, number one. And number two, through which we can actually send across the real time news. So we thought about building up an application, but everything needs money and everything needs funding. So we said, okay, let's do something which will not need immediate funding. At the same time, it will start working. So we actually built up a website. And I would actually request you guys to go onto the website. See, you can find out Ajay Indians, AJAI Indians. We have really worked hard on this website. We have created the whole life cycle from before coming to Japan, while being in Japan, and after leaving Japan. What are the things you need to know and you need to do? All that whole life cycle is covered on Ajay. And another thing we did in Ajay is that we started setting up a network of representatives in each prefecture. Prefecture means state, in each state of Japan. So today we have a good network of representatives, hotline representatives. So if any person is having a problem in that particular state, we have actually given mail IDs for each state, and the person can write an email to those mail IDs. And those hotline representatives in those 11 states where we have uh, a chunk of Indian population. Why 11 is because we have more of population there. We are spreading now. So if somebody sends an email to there, that email is picked up by those hotline representatives. It also comes to the head office in Tokyo, and we immediately pick up the issue. So we actually we support people in legal cases, in court cases, in immediate medical needs. We actually also take care of deaths, cremation, and if required, we immediately raise up a fund to take care of cremation and all. Sometimes we have to send the dead bodies to India if the family wants it. Normally, we actually request the families to let us do the cremation in Japan, because that is actually financially and operationally easier for us. But that is how we have actually built up this organization. Now, this was actually shaping up, but now I come to the final phase of there. So this was all shaping up, and now again an incident happens. In 2017, one of the local councillors in my city and some businessmen Indians, they decide to create a little India in my town. So actually it's a welcome move. It gives actually an identity. But at the same time, when I have visited the little India in Singapore or India, UK or the US, I have seen two specific problems over there. One is the cleanliness of the town is completely marred. It is not taken care. Two is it is said called to be Little India, but normally Indians are not doing the business there. All other countrymen from around India, they are doing the main chunk of the business there. So what I suggested to this project committee that you need to change a few things in your model. Otherwise, this is not going to work. And Japan is not UK, or Japan is not the US. Japan is not so diverse. The Japanese people, they are very closed mindset. If they start hating Indians, then that will be an havoc. And one other thing is that be it Singapore or be it US, the Indian townships were set up, the Little India kind of things were set up in not so densely populated areas. Whereas in Japan, they were trying to set up the Little India in a quite densely populated area, and where people were already living their normal lives. And I felt that if the project fails in this kind of area, it would actually build up a much more tension between the Japanese and the Indians, especially. But the project committee, actually, they said they are not going to make any changes to their model because it was too late. So I said, you cannot say it too late, because you are right now bringing it to the community. So you have to accept the recommendations from the community as well, and make changes. But they were not ready. So then I started writing to the mayor. I met the mayor. I started writing to the all respective divisions of the city. Honestly, the administration was not ready to look into it. So finally, I started talking to the community, both Japanese and Indians, and then I raised a good number of people, and then we actually went on to oppose the whole Little India plan. Ultimately, that was stopped. But then this was actually the red signal for me. I thought, like, these things cannot go on, because after 5 years, maybe again somebody will come up with it. So the whole problem was, I thought, like, in the administration, in the government, nobody was there who will actually talk about the real day-to-day life of immigrants in Japan, the real day-to-day interaction between immigrants and Japanese in Japan. And hence the government and the administration was absolutely not aware of the real life issues, and hence how to tackle those issues. So I thought, I cannot keep complaining about it. And that was the turning point. I decided to jump into the elections. So that was the whole build up. So then I started talking to the Indian people, Japanese people, whether I should go into the elections. And almost all of them, they said, Yogi, we need somebody like you. And that was the push. Until the end moment, I was not sure whether I should go into it, because I was working as a director in a Japanese company, which is again a feat which is not actually gained by too many Indians here. I was doing very well financially, and it was a very tough decision to actually leave that position. And the way I liked my work at the bank, the way I loved working at the bank, it was a very tough decision. But then when I got this push from the community, I said, I think I need to go into it. So just around a month and a half before the day of the voting day, I decided I'm going into elections. So that was the whole built up. So I will stop here for for the next question. I'm not sure if I have answered the whole question, but that was the build up.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
No, you surely have. Yogi-san, listening to this wonderful narrative from you, one immediate thing that came to my mind is, as you're really following Gandhiji's message, be the change you want to see in the world. And hats off to you and kudos to you for doing that. सपने बहुत लोग देखते हैं, पर आपने वो सपने सच करके दिखाए हैं. So this is truly amazing. That leads me to the next question. Now you've brought us to the step of your assembly elections, and heartiest congratulations for you winning that massive election. It would have been a not an easy task. But what are the duties and responsibilities of being an assemblyman in Japan? And what changes have you been able to bring in your tenure as an assembly person?
Sure, sure. Uh, Thank you. So, into the elections, honestly speaking, I was 42 then, and I was feeling like I'm actually old to get into it. I should have actually tried it a bit earlier, but I think it needed that build up for me to reach to that stage and to finally decide. And I created a small team around me for the elections, mainly Japanese people. In fact, the Japanese election laws, they don't allow me employing the foreigners directly as volunteers. If any foreigner actually helps my election, I have to pay them, and I was not yet ready with my funds. So I built up a team of Japanese, and uh, we were of the opinion that I will lose in my first attempt, but that loss will be again a lesson for us. We will learn from it, and then we will build on for the next election. So actually we were actually clinically doing the things which we actually, so we searched the things how. Then nobody around me was from the political background. Everybody was a normal citizen. So then we started searching what all in elections. No politician around me, and honestly, and we really started doing things clinically. I used to stand in at the railway stations from morning 5:30 until 8 o'clock, then take the train, go to the bank, work in the bank, and then again evening, leave the bank around 6:30, come back again, stand at the station until late 11:30 kind of, uh, just saying good morning, good evening, sometimes giving out my flyer. uh, so that is how it started. So in Japan, actually, it's a rudimentary way to actually do it. Even the member of parliaments, even they stand at the railway stations every day morning, to actually build up the image of that being in the with the people kind of. So that is how I started, and then it went on. Then just 1 week before the elections, actually, one member of parliaments, he came and he said, Yogi-san, I think you are going to be good candidate, and I want to support you. And I said, yes, please. Then he guided us on a few things. He also gave speeches for me through 2 or 3 times, and that was actually one good support for me. And finally, on the ballot day, when the ballot was opened, I was actually the first city councillor to. I was the first one to clear the ballot, and it was like a dream come true. So we were sitting in my election office, which was in my house. We couldn't even borrow election office. So borrowing, renting a place is actually so expensive in Tokyo. So I set up my office in my house. And in fact, my team was also not there because everybody was believing that I'm going to lose. So the results started coming in the morning from around I think 10 o'clock, something like that. Sorry, 9 o'clock. And my team was saying, okay, we will gather around 12 o'clock. And by that time, everything will be finished. Then we will sit together, maybe have some food together, and then we will actually go. And at 9:45, I was the first person to clear the ballot. And then before even my team would come, all the newspaper guys and TV guys were flooding into my home, and I was not even ready what to answer to these guys. So it was like tears in my eyes. But I think what worked was that no political sense in my campaign. The sheer what you can say, naiveness in the campaign, and very openness with the people was something I think people picked up. I felt like the people didn't see at me as a politician. Many of the times, the younger generation and the kids were so much behind me, supporting me. And I think they took the message to their houses, to their moms and dads, that we like this Yogi san kind of. And I think that is what worked. So after becoming the politician in Japan, actually, they have a very good training program for the politicians first. So we were given the books, we are giving a training program. The first key message: you have to be on time everywhere, and we have to be properly dressed everywhere. So no, so properly dressed is in the sense is necktie and the coat and the badge. These are the basic things we have to be every time we have to be there. So I think that is how about the whole assembly. A very well dressed, very cultured assembly. You won't see people throwing chairs or those kind of things in the Japanese assembly, or not even vulgarly fighting kind of. Of course, they will debate, but not vulgarly fighting. So I very neat and tidy assemblies in Japan. And my when I started, actually my key role I took was to actually to evaluate the construction projects and the operations, the education projects and operations, and also the innovation and IT projects and operations. So these were the three committees actually I chose to work on. And in fact, I requested the assembly to give me these three committees, and they actually realized that I would be actually really an asset to these committees, and they gave me those all these committees which I asked for. And within the innovation committees, actually, I started talking about innovation in the administration processes, because normally what we see is in administrations, at least in Japan, the processes were built up 50 years back, and those were actually not relooked into as we would normally relook in our offices, in our companies and all private companies. But in administration, it is not happening so well. So I started talking about Six Sigma. I started talking about SDGs, smart city. Six Sigma was completely new for the administration people in Japan. When I first spoke about Six Sigma, they were looking at each other's faces because they have never heard about it. So then I started training them about the BPM tools in IT, the business process management tools. And then slowly we also started talking about AI. And now since last year, we have started implementing BPM and AI tools in my city office in the administration processes. We have started actually patching up the loopholes between the processes and processes. So that are the main things. So in the assembly, first thing I have to attend the assembly, where I get a few I get a definite number of minutes to ask my 0 hour questions. That is one of my roles, to attend the assembly and ask the 0 hour questions. Number two is I have to attend these three committees: the construction, the education, and the innovation. These three committees I attend. That is the second role. The third role is I have to attend the budgetary committees, the budget creation and the budget closing committees. And trust me, since I was a banker, there are very few politicians with banking background, none in my constituency. And the way I look at the budget, I go through each and every line. All other councillors are so amazed that Yogi-san, you are going into such a line by line details, and they always actually praise me for that. Just one thing to give an example, and this is off record, that I found out when I was going through the lines. I found out that there are so many cars used in the city office. What I did is I actually added up all the petrol cost in given in all different sections of the budget this thing document, and then I divided it by the number of cars we had. I found out that by rough calculation, every car was running 100 kilometers a day, which is impossible. So when I brought this point in the budgetary committee, everybody was so shocked. They said, all other councillors saying, Yogi-san, we never ever thought about this point. So the misuse of petrol, there is, it also happens here. So some nasty guys will be there everywhere. So these are the kind of things actually I do at the assembly. Most of the time I have to spend listening to the grievances of the people, not only the foreigner community, but most of the time from the Japanese. like so many things. They have problems at their homes, domestic violence, abuse of kids, loss of job, or the government administration not offering them services on right time, or not even listening to them, not offering them certain documents. So then we have to pitch in. And honestly speaking, the number of votes I got in the election, thanks to that, many a times when I go back and speak to the administrative officers, they give me enough respect, and immediately take care of the issues. One first I did in my city is that there was one non-Japanese foreigner actually. He had a ALS problem. His whole body is not moving, and he was actually looking for a fully automatic wheelchair, which would cost around 3 point would cost around how much 30,000 300 35,000 US dollars. But as per our city norms, we would usually provide a chair maximum up to around 100 sorry 15,000 or $20,000. So then I built up the case of this guy, saying that how we can actually reduce the burden of this person, and how we can make his life better. And at the same time, while we are paying 35,000 down payment for the wheelchair, we will actually reduce many other cost, associated cost with this person. And then I built up the case, and I actually convinced the city administration. And by this way, the first fully automated wheelchair was supplied in my city, my township, my constituency, to the ALS patient. And now my city actually plans that every now from we will actually do a case study of this person for around 1 year. And if the case study works is successful, we will supply around 10 fully automated wheelchairs from the next year or so. So I think by looking at the real problems from a real life perspective, this is how actually we can go on changing the lives of the people. So with that, I will stop there. And just one more thing, as Pradyumna was saying, like I actually help a lot many students from many universities, because they work in on the subjects like symbiotic society or diverse society or Indians in Japan. And I actually guide many students every year to write their thesis. And this is the way I feel that they get the right information, because most of the times the books that are published on our communities, those are actually half cooked, because they many of the times they are not they are bookish. They are not projecting the real life. And people like me and you, who are really socially oriented, we need to actually guide the students to understand our society's right. So that is actually one of again the one key task actually I very keenly invest my time in. So with that, I'll stop again here. Thank you so much.
Yogi-san, this is amazing. This is really amazing. Within a very short span of just 2 years, or just over 2 years now, you served the people who elected you, but you also have made the assembly itself much richer with your experience, with your dedication, with your innovative ideas. I think this is truly a role model and a template for politicians, not only in Japan, but I think for the world over. Right? Why we need good people in politics. I think this is a fantastic example. We are all very confident that you have a great future ahead in politics and in public service. But we wanted to hear from you as our last question as to what is your ambition and future roles. If you can talk about that, and what is the message that you want to leave us with that inspiration that we want to draw from your ambition and your future vision for yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much. Sure. Honestly speaking, after living in Japan for 20 years, my English is now no more great. So I only speak in very simple English. I don't have heavy jargons. I don't have heavy words, heavyweight words kind of. So I will answer this question from two perspectives. One is from the community perspective, and second is from my political career perspective. So from the community perspective, I I would like to build up on the All Japan Association of Indians, Ajay, that I was talking to you. As I said, right now we have set up a hotline representatives in 11 states. We would like to do it across all 47 states in Japan, and we would like to build up our website as a much more what you can say rich knowledge database, where people can actually seek for solutions for all of their issues. uh, that is one first thing I would like to do as a community. The second thing, what I'm within the community, the second thing is what I'm talking to the directors of the community right now, that we need to actually work on an agenda from the SDGs perspective, because in Japan right now, including because of the what you can say the influence from the UN, or uh, in Japan, every city budget plan is now actually planned on the basis of the 17 goals of the SDGs. So the budget itself is designed that way. So what I'm talking in the Ajay, is that we now need to actually think from the perspective of all these 17 goals, what exactly are the policies that we require for the betterment of our community. And while we are doing that, we are also talking to other communities, like we have started with the Korean community and the Nepali community, because they are one of the most organized communities in the foreigner community. If you see, like not so many Western countries or even other countries from Asia, they don't have such organized communities. So we are actually talking to other organized communities so that we can work on this agenda together, to bring up a policy change, to send plias to the government, so that we can actually bring in give real life suggestions, practical implementable suggestions to the government. Most of the times I have seen, like there are those committees set up by the government, they actually talk a lot of blah blah blah, and finally from there nothing moves on, because those things are not practical at all, they don't solve the problem. So we would like to practically work on it. uh, then from a politician's perspective, of course, my dream is to first become a member of parliament. I dream to be a member of parliament by the age of 50. So I'm going to start building up slowly and slowly. And I'm actually targeting to work in the upper house rather than the lower house, because I don't want to be a debating member of parliament, but I want to be a constituting kind of a complementing kind of member of parliament. So sitting in the back seat, I would like to actually work closely with the bureaucrats to bring in policy changes, rather than actually going into a debate at any point of time. Debates will actually never help. uh, at the same time, I am sending across a very clear message that I won't keep working as a politician for a long. I think I need to actually define my own graduation cycle. So after 2 terms, I'm going to graduate. I'm not just going to sit on and keep warming the seat. And in the meanwhile, one of my targets is to actually to educate new politicians, which I have already started. I have started interaction in few other countries as well. People actually contact me, Yogi-san, please guide us how to go about it. I have also started training a couple of Indians in Tokyo itself, and other nationality people are also joining me. Uh, if Corona actually settles down, maybe this year, otherwise from next year, I will start my official political tuitions. I am actually in the process of building up the whole curriculum. I have already built up a 100-page slider, a 100 slider presentation for as a curriculum for in fact how to think about the politics, the whole administration. And first of all, to starting with whether a normal person can go into politics or not. So the first topic which I'm covering is about salaries of politicians. So the first message is, even if you become a politician, you have a proper salary and you can make a good life. So that is the first message I start from. Because honestly, when I started thinking of the politician, I was supposed to leave my job as a director in the bank and then take up this politician role. And I was not sure whether how much salary I'm going to get as a politician or honorarium, and whether I'll be able to take care of my family. So that is what a big question comes to us. And as Pradyumna was saying, that we need a different cadre of politicians, who will probably come from a background similar like me. I think they will also look at the stability of their lives. So I'm building up in a nutshell, I'm actually building up the whole curriculum, even on how to fight the elections, what are the strategic things they need to know to successfully fight the elections, and that is one of my big dreams. So I suppose I have answered my question there. Oh, then the last part is about the message to the people. So again, like not so heavy jargons. My message to the people, I can make it a multi-pillar kind of. From the community perspective, what I have learned is that we need to stay together, and we need to contribute, and only that is the way we can grow together. Honestly speaking, like I'll give an example. When I thought of putting up my first restaurant, nobody in the community would give me the right and enough information how to set up the restaurant. But today, if anybody comes to me, I give them information, whatever I have, whatever the best way it will make them easy to set up a restaurant or even set up a business, because I don't feel that they are going to actually compete me. Rather, I tell them, don't compete with me, but try to create a new product that will actually give you help you to create your own segment, a separate segment where you don't compete with others. And in fact, that is the best thing to know from the Japanese. A Honda will never compete with the Suzuki. Suzuki will never compete with the Toyota. They all create cars in different segments. They never compete. So that is one great example we need to learn and apply to our community from there. And so I think I spoke both from the community and business perspective. From the political perspective, I think the world is calling us. It's time that we actually actively look towards this opportunity. You can be in any country. Of course, China, I'm not sure whether you can be a real politician, but of course, you can go into the Communist Party and you can work with them, maybe. But I think world is looking at us, and specifically for Indians, after running an election in Japan, I personally felt that for Indians, actually, we have a different corner, because Indians are looked at as particularly for us who are coming from IT and all, we are looked at as a sincere and hardworking kind of trustable, reliable kind of people. So that is actually, I think, the key first and foremost thing, that we have to create that image. So again, world is calling us, and this is the time. Let's bring about a change. So with that, if anybody needs any information from me, you can contact me anytime. Well, you can search me anywhere on Facebook
No,
and all.
we will do better. We'll do better than that, Yogi-san. We will be sharing your contact details with the wonderful Vishwamanthan team. Just listening to your to this whole speech, I must say that, and I don't speak for myself. I speak for the entire friends at Vishwamanthan, that you have truly defined the word yogi. The meaning of yogi, as Sadhguru says, is to live your life without the coffins that people build around themselves.
Yeah.
And you have really broken those coffins. These coffins can be your typical 9 to 5 job, can be your family. You have really redefined what Indian can really do. And hats off to you. And I'm sure that my friend who is going to give his vote of thanks now, Subodh Joshi, is also equally mesmerized. So I'm eager to hear what Subodh has to say. Subodh, over to you. I think Subodh is on mute, Samir. You probably would have to unmute him.
Yes.
No,
Thanks, Samir. Thanks, Amit. नमस्कार योगीजी. तुम्ही अंबरनाथचे आहात, आम्ही पहिल्यापासून डोंबिवलीचे आहोत, त्यामुळे आपण दोघे जण शेजारी आहोत. Okay, a very good evening, morning and afternoon to all our participants who dial into this amazing session. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for today's Vishwamanthan session. I think it would be more appropriate for me to say that this is more than mere vote of thanks, but this is a vote of love with lots of respect to you, Mr. Yogi. And for what you have been doing in a community service, started acting as a wonderful middleman and educating foreigners around you, even started with helping local Japanese people. I think I may not be over exaggerating that you are actually like a 22nd century Dr. Kotnis in Japan, at peace and in growth time, with tremendous positivity which you are displaying in every act of life. Your amazing journey reminds me of what Mr. Winston Churchill advised: never waste a crisis, for which you have exploited hardships for everyone's growth around you. Not just sitting there and thinking about it as a destiny, but making them to work in everyone's favor. Looks like you found your ikigai. Your story has inculcated radiant optimism and an undefeatable state of being. Yogi-san, your whole upbringing in India, the rich corporate and civil service experience, and when the people like you with diversified journey walking this planet, especially penetrating in the country, having a strong culture, serving them by becoming an assembly person in Japanese civil service, absolutely inspiring all of us here. We at Vishwamanthan extremely proud of you. On behalf of Vishwamanthan team, I would like to say a big thank you for accepting our invite, coming here and sharing your inspirational journey. And thank you to all our participants for attending today's Vishwamanthan session. Yogi-san, last but not the least, wishing you all the very best for your continued success, for your future, and the people around you are truly lucky to have you and see you becoming a member in Japanese upper house. Thank you once again. Amit, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We can unmute everyone else, Samir, for 5 minutes, because I'm sure that there would be others who would just like to wish Yogi-san as well, and just introduce themselves. We've got Nanduji, we've got Prabhat, we've got Dattesh. If you can just unmute them, we've got Shrikant. I'm sure everybody is very moved with this discussion.
This is Nandu Dekne. Nice to, I think it was really enjoyed your session. I have a lot of link with Ambanath because I worked with Iron Exchange. You had a plant there, factory, you know that.
The richest
And,
company.
Huh?
The richest company.
There's another rich guy in Japan from the same company, Supeko, who's your friend.
Oh, Raju-san is from the Iron Exchange. Oh.
Yeah. And
Rajesh Supekaji is here.
Yeah, he's there in the session. So we're all proud of you. Great job, man. Keep it up.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
so yeah.
Yogi-san, this is Prabhat here. I'm based out of Shanghai. Fantastic session and really proud of what you're doing in Japan. It's great to see an Indian get into politics and social work and make a name for themselves. Fantastic, and we will keep looking for exploits from you, and also all the best wishes for getting into the upper house.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yogi-ji, this is Mahadev from Shanghai. So thank you very much for your inspiring journey and sharing the experience to us. And based on your experience, we saw that in the India, we have a lot of potential and the scope and possibilities. What you are telling here, it can be replicated or enhanced in the India, because that is the biggest democracy. And for sure, your inspiration will help back to us, our motherland also. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yogi-san, this is Raju Supekar. I remember first time in 2002 when I had invited you as a guest speaker for JICA event. The way you spoke so confidently and the way the audience was impressed. Back in 2002, I was very much sure that you will come up to this level. And I'm very happy and I'm very glad. A lot of hopes from you for the Indian community here. And in Japanese, the last word I should say is what we say in English is all the best is gambatte kudasai. Arigatou gozaimasu.
In Chinese, that is Jiao.
Okay, good.
Rajeevji, namaskar. It's such a pleasure to have you today.
Yeah, maybe this Shailendra, one thing means while we listen to all the journey, Yogi, but I think all the guys here in Tokyo or in Edogawa is anyway experiencing this every day. So I think, while you all guys have listened to the story, we are experiencing, and we are lucky guys to experience it almost on daily basis.
Excellent. And on behalf of Vishwamantan, I need to thank my dear friend Shailendra for introducing us to Yogi-san. So many thanks, Shailendra, for this wonderful connect. And you know, Shailendra, that एक बार हमारा दोस्त बन जाता है तो हम उसका पीछा जिंदा उम्र नहीं छोड़ते.
Right. वो है ना शोले जैसा, ठाकुर ने गलती कर दी तिजोरी की चाबी दिखा के.
और आपने तो हमें तिजोरी ही दे दी. Thank you so much once again, everybody. Wishing you a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay fresh.